Hello Poetry Pals, welcome back to another video. This week I am going to be showing you how to write a sonnet. In last week's video I gave you a bit of a history of sonnets throughout English history, got a little bit nerdy with you, and this week I'm going to show you how I adapt my writing techniques so that I can write a sonnet. And I'm going to be basing it around the same 11 steps, which are actually 10 steps, but 11 steps of writing that I did in my how to write a poem video. So the first one is to come up with an idea. Obviously my idea was to write a sonnet, but you have to have something to write about, otherwise you do end up struggling quite a bit. Popular topics of sonnets include writing about sonnets. Wordsworth and Keats did a lot of that, but the main thing is unrequited love. So I decided that I wanted to write about unrequited love, but those of you who will know me will know that I'm engaged. He said yes, so not so much unrequited. But some of you who do know me will know that I have a cat who hates me. So I've written a sonnet about my cat. Don't judge me, okay? Look, I needed something to write about. I decided on the theme of unrequited love, so I'm writing a poem about my cat. Step number 2, as always, is find a space to write. I am back in my living room with my camera wedged awkwardly over my coffee table. Put on some background music, make yourself a cup of tea, and get on with it. Step number 3 is mind map. This is a really good place to decide what direction your poem is going to go in, your sonnet. And as I said in my last video, a sonnet is all about developing. You start somewhere, you develop that argument, you talk back to that argument, and then depending on which rhyme scheme you go for, you've got that tie up. So one of the things that you need to be thinking about while you're doing your mind map is how are you going to show that development throughout your sonnet, your 14 lines. So while I was doing the mind map, I decided to include the Shakespearean rhyme scheme, and I decided to model my sonnet after the series of sonnets that Shakespeare wrote about the dark mistress. I kind of like that because my cat is a black cat, so I kind of like the idea of turning her into Shakespeare's dark mistress. And one of the sonnets that he writes about her is "My mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun," which I want to say is sonnet... Hold that thought. Thanks, Molly. Sonnet 130. I decided that I was just going to use that as my first line. One of the ways that I wrote my dissertation was that I wrote a collection of sonnets that tracked and mirrored the sonnet form throughout English history. So one of the ways that I would quite often write is by writing back to that tradition as well. So I've decided to continue that tradition of writing into the thing, and now I'm writing back to Shakespeare to go, my mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun too, because she's a cat. You also need to decide on what rhyme scheme you're going for. I went with the Shakespearean rhyme scheme because it meant that I didn't have to come up with just 5 rhymes, although I did end up kind of doing that. You also want to decide at that point like how strict you're going to be on your rhythm. Are you going to stoically stick to iambic pentameter, or are you going to be a bit more flexible and stuff like that? My advice is to let what you're saying mean what it has to before, you know, trying to force it into the rhythm and rhyme scheme. It's much better to like let your meaning be apparent, especially in contemporary sonnets. We don't do all of the these, thous and stuff anymore. which is a shame because it does make it really easy to rhyme. And also you'll notice that all the older sonnets will like flip the word order, and it won't be like a traditional spoken English word order. It'll almost sound a bit like Yoda, so you can get the rhyme. That's kind of not done anymore, so you've got to be careful about that. And I'm not gonna lie to you, like my rhyming, I'm so bad at rhyming. I hate rhyming. So one of the other things that I use, I go on rhymezone.com and I pick out my keywords and I brainstorm all of the different rhyming words for that. I know right now that there are a couple of poets out there who are probably cringing at me for admitting that I use Rhymezone, but I don't naturally rhyme in my poems. That's not a priority for me, and I really struggle to come up with rhymes. The great thing about Rhymezone is that you can do you can search for multi-syllabic rhymes because they have the option to do that. So check out Rhymezone. The next step is to free write. What you will notice when I was writing this, I tried to free write, but I couldn't. I kept thinking about the rhyme scheme. And the trick is when you're writing a sonnet is just to write it. So I didn't actually, my original advice to you was to just write the poem how you want it to be written in your free write. Just write it. Don't worry about the sonnet, don't worry about the rhyme scheme. But what you do want to do is make sure that you are focusing on that development idea, and then your like resolution of your structure of your sonnet, and you want to make sure that you are using those key words and those rhyming words in your free write, so that when you come back to rework it and stitch it, then you've got all of the words there, you just need to play about with it a bit more. I didn't end up doing that. I actually ended up writing line by line, and then every time I started going in a direction I was like, no, I'm just going to start again from this line. So that's what happened with that one. So yeah, I struggled with this free write. It was tough, and I did not really free write at all. I just sort of wrote many different versions of each section. Then instead of highlighting, all I did was just go through, pick out my favourite version of the sonnets that I'd just written and wrote it again neat. What this helped to do is just bring out exactly which lines I wanted to use. It also was another chance to refine those lines a little bit. In the footage you'll see me tapping. That is because that is how I count my iambic pentameter. Iambic pentameter, for those of you who don't know, is an iamb is an unstressed syllable followed by a stressed syllable, so it goes da-da. And an iambic pentameter is 5 of those put together, so 10 syllables where 5 are stressed, so it goes da-da, 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 da-da. So from taking it from the free write and putting it into a neater writing helped me to refine each line, because I sort of knew what I wanted to say but hadn't really sort of like landed on how exactly I was going to say it and how that was going to fit my rhyme scheme as well. So that was my way of doing it. And my tapping was to see, I wasn't aiming for 10 exact syllables, it was more to check that they were a similar length and they have that shape that a sonnet has, that beautiful, ooh yeah, that beautiful shape. Then my next step is usually leave it, but I don't think that really works with sonnets. I think you need to knead it like a bread. Just gotta knead it, but you don't want to over knead. But have a read through it, check how does it sound, say it out loud, just say it out loud. Does it sound like normal human speech? Have you tried to force Shakespearean language into it? Does it sound like something you would say? Because one of the things that happens when people try and write forms is it doesn't sound like them anymore. I think that my final version of my sonnet sounds like me still, or at least my writing. Then you leave it. And this is the point where you leave it for a couple of days. Then you either perform it or workshop it. Now my advice with sonnets is definitely to workshop it. Workshop it with someone who knows about sonnets. I'll workshop it. So yeah, get someone who knows about sonnets to have a little look and have a little tinker, because when you're trying to force yourself into a form, sometimes you leave meaning behind, and I've said that before, but it's important to bear that in mind, that you need to make sure someone's picking up what you're putting down. Then you want to use that feedback to edit. Then you want to rinse and repeat all of these steps until you are happy with your final version. Certainly when I was writing my dissertation, I ended up rewriting loads and going back to the beginning and mind mapping and free writing and mind mapping and free writing before bringing it together. And what would happen is I'd end up with certain lines coming from the first draft and certain lines coming from the 15th draft, all coming together to make one sonnet. And then finally 11 is leave it. Put it out there. Submit it to a journal, perform it at your open mic, put it online, whatever it is that you want to do with your sonnet, do it. Print it, put it on the wall, they look so pretty. Now what I'm going to do, a little bit different from my last how to write a poem, is I'm going to read my sonnet to you. You've got to bear in mind that this is after step 6, so I haven't left it, I haven't workshopped it. So this is my workshop moment, this is me reading it out loud, performing it, and I want you to give me your feedback down below. Be kind, let me know what you think. If you want it written down, I'll put it in the description so you can workshop the actual writing as well. My mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun. I would describe her eyes as lime green. You might say she's a cute little one, but you don't know what goes unseen. She loves my partner better than me. And though she scarpers off when I come near, she'll cuddle him cute as can be, which is one of the reasons why I hate her. But I don't mean that at all. Not really. I'm rather fond of my bitchy black cat. In fact, I love her really quite dearly, even if she is a spoilt brat. When she goes out to piss, I will always plea that she'll always come home and never leave me. There you go. That's my sonnet about my unrequited love with my cat. Please. Hey, it's me. My camera battery died, and I don't have time to wait for it to charge up to film the rest of this video, so I just wanted to round up and say, let me know what you thought of my sonnet in the comments below. Let me know if you've written one and you'd like a workshop. Why not put it in the comments? Why not? Please subscribe, please like this video, and please tell your friends about it. I'm going to be doing way more videos about different different poetry forms, so let me know if that's something that you would like more of, and let me know what forms you'd like me to focus on. I have lots of books about poetry, so I can share my knowledge with you. One of the things that I'm definitely thinking about doing in the future as well is a video on how to get published and what to do with your submission spreadsheet. Let's talk about spreadsheets, shall we? Yes. So let me know if that's something that you would like to do. Okay, speak to you soon. See you next week. Love you. Bye! Hey. Oh. Oh. See? She hates me. She actually hates me.